Podcast is brought to you by Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. The past year has been full of challenges and circumstances outside of our control. Now, more than ever, it is important to create the life of your dreams. Life on your terms. A life that truly fulfills you, no matter what obstacles come in your way. Unleash the Power Within will awaken your spirit and pave the way for breakthroughs to make it all happen. Join Tony Robbins live from the comfort of your own home, as Unleash the Power Within is currently 100% virtual. Learn more at upwvirtual.com/pod. That's upwvirtual.com/pod. Welcome to the Tony Robbins Podcast. Tony's had the privilege of working with some of the greatest doctors and experts in peak performance and vitality, and today's guest is no exception. Dr. Mark Hyman is the founder and director of the Ultra Wellness Center, the head of strategy and innovation for the Cleveland Clinic for Functional Medicine, and board president for clinical affairs of the Institute for Functional Medicine. He's a practicing family physician, a 13-time New York Times bestselling author, and an internationally recognized leader, speaker, educator, and advocate for the field of functional medicine. In today's sit-down, Dr. Hyman discusses his new book, The Pegan Diet, 21 Practical Principles for Reclaiming Your Health in a Nutritionally Confusing World. He also talks about using food to biohack his way to high performance and an abundant life. Dr. Hyman discusses eating the rainbow, using food as medicine, and the inherent nutritional wisdom of animals. Dr. Hyman, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, let's start with some background. Tony's always been a fan of your work. You've known each other for years. You've spoken at so many of his events, like Unleash the Power Within and Life Mastery. You're both huge proponents of science-based plans for detoxification and eating real whole foods.
That's right.
So let's start off with talking a little bit about your relationship with Tony. And then how have you guys partnered over the years? I mean, combined, you've reached, hundreds of thousands of people?
Maybe millions. Listen, Tony is all about optimizing your life and performance. And a lot of the focus obviously is on your mental health and your mental resilience and your ability to achieve your dreams. But all that is completely limited by any kind of physical ill health. And unless you optimize your biology, it's hard to optimize your life. They go hand in hand. And that's really the synergy between Tony and I, is that he's a master of resetting people's intellectual, emotional, spiritual lives. But on the biological level, there's a whole set of principles that is about designing a way of eating and living and being that leads to peak performance, optimal health. That allows you to really engage with your life fully, which means showing up, which means being fully in relationships, which means actually being able to do whatever you want in the morning when you get up so you don't feel limited by the limitations of your body. And how do you show up for work, for love, for relationships, for connection, for friends, for anything that you love to do? How do you do that? And I think that's really the key synergy here.
So, Mark, we're here today because you have a new book coming out. It's called The Pegan Diet, 21 Practical Principles for Reclaiming Your Health in a Nutritionally Confusing World. So can you talk a little bit about the term pegan, when you first came up with it, and a little bit about why you decided to write this book at this time?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I, as a doctor on the front lines of seeing patients for 30 years and treating tens of thousands of patients, testing them with, literally millions of analytes that I've seen, looking at their stories and seeing what works and what doesn't work, it's really clear to me that all the dietary dogmas out there are unfortunately rigid and restricted and don't allow for flexibility, for personalization, for understanding that food is medicine. And I just was like, wait a minute, we need to come up with a set of principles that is coherent, that's science-based, that's based on common sense. And I said it was spurred by this panel I was on once with a friend of mine who was a paleo doctor. Another one was a vegan cardiologist, and they were fighting like cats and dogs. And I was in the middle going back and forth. And I said, well, gee, if you're paleo and you're vegan, I must be pegan. And everybody started laughing. And I thought, oh, that's a good joke. Okay, that was fun. And then I started thinking about it on the way home on the plane. And I was like, wait a minute, they're identical. They're exactly the same, except for one thing. where you get your protein, animals or grains and beans. Otherwise, they both promote a plant-rich diet, both promote eating good fats, both promote eating whole foods, both promote getting off of dairy and getting off of processed foods, and even getting off of all the additives and hormones and antibiotics and chemicals and pesticides. So the truth is that they're far more alike than they are different, especially when compared to the traditional American diet. And that goes for any diet where people are trying to aspire to better health, whether it's keto or paleo or low fat or low carb. Everybody's trying to do the right thing. But we have to understand that we're all different. Like I said at the beginning, we have to personalize this approach, and we can't just have a one-size-fits-all approach. And some people may tolerate grains and beans, some people may not. Some people may thrive on animal protein and with or without it, others might not. Some people, might do okay being vegans, others really get into trouble. And then it depends on what's going on with you. For example, if you have terrible bacterial overgrowth in your gut and your gut's a mess, and you start eating tons of starchy foods and grains and beans, you're going to be in trouble, right? But if you have an autoimmune disease, you might not be able to eat gluten. So we really personalize the approach. And the vegan diet is at once a set of practical principles that apply to everybody that talk about the common ground we all share about eating real food. And second, it's really about food as medicine, understanding that food is not just calories, but it's information or instructions that can upregulate or downregulate your biology with every bite. And lastly, it's about personalization. So we have to be adaptable, and we have to listen to our bodies, not our ideology. We don't want our ideology to trample over our biology. If you believe you should be a vegan, but your body says no, that's not good for you, right? If you believe you should be paleo, but your body says no, then you have to listen. So listen to your body. It's the smartest doctor in the room.
That is really true. Your body really is the best doctor. And so many of us don't listen to our bodies, So let's talk more about the vegan diet. What are some of the principles, and how would you eat this way long term, like as a lifestyle?
Use food as your pharmacy. When you go shopping, think you're going to the drugstore. Everything you're buying is a drug, and it's got to hurt you or it's going to heal you. So whether you're buying, I don't know, let's say Triscuits, which are full of trans fats and gluten, or you're buying, wild blueberries, the frozen wild blueberries, they have profoundly different effects on your biology. So when I go to the grocery store, I literally am thinking about it as my pharmacy, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy this. It's going to be great for my microbiome. I'm going to have some jicama and artichoke, and I'm going to get some sauerkraut for probiotic foods, and I'm going to use these polyphenols from cranberry green tea to help my microbiome, and I'm going to get some broccoli because I know that's going to upregulate my glutathione, my detox system, and I know that if I get some turmeric to make curry, I'm going to reduce inflammation in my body. And I know that if I eat foods with certain fibers that are resistant starches like plantains, it's going to help balance my blood sugar. That's going to lead to better blood sugar profile and correct my hormonal imbalances. I know that if I eat the